Okay, and the other thing that happened late last month, the 29th of September, is the Rosetta mission, a mission to Comet 67P, finally came to an end. And we talked a fair amount about this last month. This is the comet. It's about 5 or 6 kilometers in the long dimension. The Rosetta spacecraft has been orbiting the comet since August of 2014. And they finally brought the mission to an end by, they were in orbit, they did a maneuver that would bring it somewhat closer to the comet, and then they did a final maneuver that dropped the spacecraft onto the comet. And the targeted area was a series of pits that they were very interested in. They have evidence that these are where jets of gas and dust are emitted from the comet, so they wanted to get close-up looks at that. And the intent was to land in this area between these two pits. And so this is just a quick animation of how the end game here was expected to happen. Again, part of the reason for ending the mission this way is the comet is moving away from the sun at this point. This is a solar-powered spacecraft, and they did not believe they'd be able to survive the 4 or 5 years with the spacecraft turned off before there was enough sunlight to power it again. So they wanted to make sure that they disposed of the spacecraft in a useful fashion and made sure that it didn't turn itself back on at an unanticipated time. So the expectation was once it touched down, all the onboard systems would turn themselves off, and that was the end of the mission. So here's some images from its descent toward the surface. It just always amazes me at how complex this object is. There's lots of this is made of certainly ice and dust and rock, but some of it is very rocky looking, crumbly looking, and then other areas are covered with what looks like fluffy dust. And so here's the images as they descend. This is from about 11.7 kilometers above the surface. Again, this really rough stuff grading off into the finer material. This is a mosaic of images as they were coming down. This was at about 10 kilometers, and the landing site they have determined was right in this area. And so here's from 5.8 kilometers out, about 1.2 kilometers, and this is this is actually one of those pits, and this is the floor of the pit. And then this is the final image taken just 20 meters off the surface, and it's out of focus because the camera was intended to be used from a range of several kilometers, not a few tens of meters. So that has succeeded, and it was a very technically risky mission and very productive. There's going to be many hundreds of PhD theses written on the data from this.